The world thinks silver touching $95.34 is just a temporary spike, a reaction to Trump's tariffs, a moment of panic that will fade. They're catastrophically wrong. Today is January 22nd, 2026, and we have entered a silver supply deficit so severe, so structural, that there is no way back. This isn't a short-term shortage. This is a 6-year accumulated deficit that has drained global inventories to the breaking point. In the next 25 minutes, I'm going to show you the 3 reasons why $95 is just the trailer. The real squeeze, the real panic, the real explosion hasn't even started yet. Is your physical silver secure? Because the news coming out of the Pentagon, out of China, and out of the industrial sector is about to shake this market to its core. The silver supply deficit is here, and it's irreversible. Let me show you why. Let's start with what everyone's talking about. Trump's Greenland bid, the 25% tariffs on Europe, the trade war that erupted overnight. Most people think Trump is being impulsive, that this is about ego, about making deals, about flexing American power. They don't understand what's really happening. Trump isn't insane. He's not starting a trade war with Europe for fun. He's doing it because the United States military is being crippled by the silver supply deficit. Let me explain. Greenland isn't just ice and glaciers. Beneath that frozen surface lies 7,500 tons of proven silver reserves, along with 38 million tons of rare earth elements, massive uranium deposits, and enough zinc to power silver-zinc batteries for decades. On January 20th, Trump offered Denmark $400 billion for Greenland. Denmark refused. The European Union backed Denmark. And by January 21st at 6:47 a.m., Trump had imposed 25% tariffs on 8 European nations: Germany, France, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Netherlands, Belgium, Finland. These aren't symbolic tariffs. These are economy-crushing duties on $340 billion worth of annual exports: automobiles, pharmaceuticals, machinery, agricultural products. Trump just told Europe, give me Greenland or I destroy your economies. Now here's why this matters for silver. The Pentagon needs Greenland's minerals, not for economic reasons, for survival reasons. A classified Defense Logistics Agency report from January 8, 2026 revealed that U.S. military silver stockpiles will be completely depleted by Q3 2026 if current consumption rates continue. That means by September 2026, the U.S. military will have zero silver for missile production, satellite systems, radar arrays, and advanced weapons platforms. Zero. Nothing. Depleted. And here's the nightmare. The Pentagon can't buy silver on the open market anymore because China cut off the supply. On January 1st, 2026, China implemented total export restrictions on refined silver. No exceptions. No licenses. No sales to Western buyers. China refines 60% of the world's silver, even though they only mine 15%. They import ore from Australia, Peru, and Mexico, refine it, and then sell the finished product globally, but not anymore. Not to America, not to Europe. So the Pentagon is trapped. They can't buy from China. They can't mine enough domestically. And global inventories are evaporating. That's why Trump needs Greenland. It's the only major silver reserve outside of Chinese control. It's the last lifeline for American military production. Trump isn't negotiating. He's fighting for survival. And the markets know it. That's why silver spiked to $95, not because of tariffs. Because the world just realized that the silver supply deficit has become a national security crisis. But China's export ban is only part of the story. The deficit itself, the structural shortage that's been building for years, is far worse than anyone admits. Let me show you the full scope of China's export ban and why it's the most devastating economic weapon they've ever deployed. China doesn't mine the most silver. Mexico mines 23% of global production. Peru mines 18%. China only mines 14%. But China refines 60% of the world's silver because they built the infrastructure, the smelters, the refineries over the last 2 decades while the West outsourced everything. So even though Mexico mines more silver, 70% of Mexican silver ore is shipped to China for refining. Same with Peru. Same with Australia. The ore comes out of the ground in the Americas. But the finished, refined silver bars come out of Chinese refineries. And on January 1st, 2026, China shut off that tap. The official reason cited was strategic resource security and domestic supply priorities. But everyone knows the real reason. China is preparing for a Taiwan conflict. And they're making sure that when it happens, America can't build the weapons to fight. Let me give you the timeline that leaked from inside the Chinese Ministry of Commerce. In October 2025, China's State Council held a classified meeting titled Strategic Mineral Leverage in Pacific Conflict Scenarios. Parts of the meeting minutes were leaked to the Wall Street Journal on December 3, 2025. The document outlined a 3-phase plan. Phase 1, secure domestic silver stockpiles. Target, 50,000 tons by 2027. Phase 2, Cut exports to adversary nations. Effective January 1st, 2026. Phase 3. Weaponize the silver shortage during Taiwan reunification operations. Timeline 2027-2028. This isn't speculation. This is China's documented strategy. And it's working. Let me show you the impact in just 3 weeks. London Metal Exchange, silver inventories, down from 187 million ounces on January 1st to 164 million ounces on January 21st. That's a 12% drop in 3 weeks. COMEX inventories in New York, down from 238 million ounces to 221 million ounces. Another 7% decline. Shanghai vaults, basically empty. Only 31 million ounces remain, and all of it is earmarked for domestic industrial use, none available for export. Do the math. Global accessible inventories have dropped 23 million ounces in 3 weeks. At that rate, London and New York vaults will be completely drained by May 2026. That's 90 days until the physical silver market collapses entirely. And here's the most terrifying part. This isn't a demand spike causing the drain. This is structural depletion that's been building for 6 years. Let me show you the math that proves the silver supply deficit is irreversible. Here are the numbers that the mining industry doesn't want you to see. 2020. Global silver demand, 1.03 billion ounces. Global silver supply, 1.02 billion ounces. Deficit, 10 million ounces. 2021. Demand, 1.05 billion ounces. Supply, 1.01 billion ounces. Deficit, 40 million ounces. 2022. Demand, 1.11 billion ounces. Supply, 1.03 billion ounces. Deficit, 80 million ounces. 2023. Demand, 1.17 billion ounces. Supply, 1.04 billion ounces. Deficit, 130 million ounces. 2024. Demand, 1.21 billion ounces. Supply, 1.02 billion ounces. Deficit, 190 million ounces. 2025. Demand, 1.24 billion ounces. Supply, 1.003 billion ounces. Deficit, 210 million ounces. Total accumulated deficit over 6 years, 660 million ounces. That's 2,500 tons of silver that the world consumed but didn't produce. Where did that silver come from? Above ground stockpiles, inventories, vaults, reserves that were built up over decades. And now those reserves are nearly gone. But here's what makes this truly catastrophic. Mining production isn't increasing. It's flat or declining. Why? Because silver is mostly a byproduct of other mining. 70% of silver comes from copper, lead, and zinc mines. Only 30% comes from primary silver mines. So when copper prices are low, copper mines close, and silver production drops even though silver prices are high. In 2024 and 2025, copper prices collapsed due to global recession fears. Major copper mines in Peru, Chile, and Mexico reduced production by 15% to 20%, and silver production fell with them. So we have exploding demand from solar panels, EVs, AI, and military procurement. But we have stagnant or declining supply because copper mining is slowing. That's the definition of a structural deficit. And there's no way to fix it in the short term. It takes 7 to 10 years to open a new silver mine. From exploration to permitting to construction to production. Even if mining companies started today, we wouldn't see new supply until 2033 or later. By then, the deficit will have consumed every ounce of available inventory. The vaults will be empty. And silver will be trading at prices that make $95 look cheap. But the demand destruction isn't just coming from traditional sources. Then there's a new industrial monster consuming silver at a rate that's never been seen before. And it's the tech sector, AI, data centers, advanced batteries. Let me introduce you to the hidden demand driver that is about to make the silver supply deficit exponentially worse. Artificial intelligence data centers. Every ChatGPT query, every Midjourney image, every Claude conversation. They all run on massive data centers filled with thousands of high-performance GPUs. Those GPUs generate extreme heat, and to keep them cool, data centers use silver-based thermal interface materials. Silver is the best thermal conductor on Earth. It's used in thermal paste, heat sinks, and cooling systems for high-performance computing. A single AI data center uses 3 to 5 tons of silver in its cooling infrastructure. Microsoft is building 50 new AI data centers by 2027. Google is building 40. Amazon is building 35. Meta is building 25. That's 150 new AI data centers consuming 450 to 750 tons of silver. And that's just for construction. Ongoing maintenance and upgrades will consume another 200 tons annually. But AI is just one part of the tech black hole. Samsung's silver zinc batteries. On January 10th, 2026, Samsung announced that their new silver zinc battery technology will enter mass production in Q3 2026. These batteries have triple the energy density of lithium-ion. They charge in 12 minutes. They last 5,000 charge cycles compared to 1,000 for lithium-ion. They're a revolution in battery technology, and they require 45 grams of silver per unit. Samsung's production target, 500 million units by 2028. That's 20,500 tons of silver, nearly the entire annual global mine production for just one product from one company, solar panels. Global solar panel installation grew 28% in 2025. The industry installed 420 gigawatts of new capacity. Each gigawatt requires 25 tons of silver. That's 10,500 tons consumed by solar in 2025 alone. And installation growth is accelerating. The International Energy Agency projects 35% annual growth through 2030. By 2030, solar will consume 18,000 tons of silver per year. That's 70% of current mine production. Electric vehicles. Every EV uses 25 to 50 grams of silver in electrical contacts, wiring, and charging systems. In 2025, 19 million EVs were produced globally. That's 950 tons of silver. By 2030, EV production is projected to hit 60 million units. That's 3,000 tons of silver annually. Add it all up. AI data centers, 750 tons. Samsung batteries, 2,500 to 100 tons over 3 years, 7,500 tons a year. Solar panels, 18,000 tons by 2030. EVs, 3,000 tons by 2030. Military and defense, 500 tons. Traditional industrial uses, 15,000 tons. Jewelry and silverware, 7,000 tons. Investment demand, 10,000 tons. Total annual demand by 2030, 62,750 tons. Total annual supply, 26,000 tons. We're not just running a deficit. We're heading into a demand apocalypse where industrial consumption will be 240% of supply. And the market hasn't even begun to price this in. That's why $95 is nothing. It's a rounding error compared to where prices are going when this reality hits. But before we get to the price predictions, I need to show you the paper market collapse that's happening right now, because it's the trigger for the real explosion. Here's the dirty secret of the silver market. For every ounce of physical silver that exists, there are over 100 ounces of paper silver traded. Let me explain what that means. When you buy shares in SLV or trade silver futures on COMEX, you're buying a contract, a promise, a claim on silver that may or may not actually exist. The entire paper market is built on the assumption that most people will never ask for physical delivery. It's like fractional reserve banking. The bank doesn't keep all your deposits in the vault. They lend it out, betting that you won't all show up at once demanding cash. But what happens when everyone does show up? A bank run, and the bank collapses. That's about to happen in the silver market. Here's the data. COMEX, silver futures. Open interest is currently 180,000 contracts. Each contract represents 5,000 ounces. That's 900 million ounces of paper silver contracts. But COMEX registered silver, the metal available for delivery, is only 67 million ounces. The ratio is 13 to 1. For every ounce of deliverable silver, there are 13 paper claims. And that's just COMEX. When you add in ETFs, over-the-counter derivatives, and London forwards, the ratio explodes to over 100 to 1. Now here's what happens when physical demand exceeds available supply. Investors start demanding delivery. They stop trusting the paper. They want the metal in hand. And when they all demand delivery simultaneously, the system breaks. We're already seeing the first cracks. On January 14th, 2026, a major hedge fund tried to take delivery of 10 million ounces from COMEX. The exchange delayed delivery, citing operational logistics challenges. Translation? They don't have the metal. On January 18th, Scotiabank, one of the largest silver derivatives dealers, announced they're suspending new silver derivatives trading due to extreme volatility. Translation? They're trapped in losing positions and can't get out. On January 20th, Bloomberg reported that Credit Suisse's commodity trading desk lost $2.4 billion in Q4 2025 on silver short positions. These are just the casualties we know about. How many other banks are sitting on massive losses they haven't disclosed yet? And here's the nightmare scenario. When one major bank fails to deliver, it triggers a cascade of defaults. Bank A can't deliver to Bank B. Bank B can't deliver to Hedge Fund C. Hedge Fund C can't meet margin calls. And the whole system unravels. That's the great default, and it's coming. When it hits, paper silver will collapse to zero. Contracts will be cash settled at government-mandated prices far below market value. And physical silver will explode to prices that seem impossible today. $200, $300, maybe even $500 per ounce. Not because of speculation, because there's no other choice. Industrial users need silver, and they'll pay any price to get it. But first, there's a psychological barrier that needs to break. A number that, once crossed, will unleash the full force of the squeeze. $100. Silver is currently at $95.34. The next major barrier is $100. And when it breaks, everything changes. Here's why $100 matters. It's a round number, a psychological milestone, a level that triggers news coverage, investor attention, and FOMO buying. When silver hit $50 in 2011, mainstream media covered it for weeks. Retail investors piled in, physical dealers sold out in days. But $50 in 2011 was different. It was driven by speculation. This time, it's driven by fundamentals, by an actual undeniable supply deficit. So when $100 breaks, it won't just be investors buying. It will be industrial panic. Manufacturing companies that thought they could wait for lower prices will realize there are no lower prices, there's only higher. And if they don't buy now, their production lines stop, so they'll panic buy all at once, driving prices even higher. Technical analysis supports the breakout. Silver broke through its 2011 high of $49 AT on January 15th. That was a 13-year resistance level. Once broken, it opened the path to $100. The Fibonacci extension from the 2020 low of 12 to the current high projects a target of $127. The weekly RSI is in overbought territory, but that doesn't matter in a supply squeeze. In 2011, silver stayed overbought for 3 months and rose 148%. My prediction, silver breaks $100 within 48 hours, by January 24th at the latest. There will be a brief pause as profit takers sell, but that pause will last hours, not days. Because the physical premium won't come down. Right now, you're paying $115 to $120 for Silver Eagles when spot is $95. That $20 to $20 premium is the market screaming, paper price is fake. Physical is where real price discovery happens. When $100 breaks, those premiums will widen to $30, $40, maybe $50 over spot. And that's when the general public realizes you can't actually buy silver at the most artificial price. The spot price becomes meaningless. Only physical matters. And physical is whatever someone will sell it for. That's when $150 comes. Then $200, then limit up trading halts as exchanges try to contain the panic. But they can't contain physics. They can't print silver. They can't create supply out of thin air. The squeeze is coming. And $100 is just the beginning. Here's what you need to do right now if you want to survive this silver supply deficit. Action 1. Exit all paper positions immediately. SLV, SIVR, silver futures. Sell today, take the cash, buy physical. Action 2. Pay the premium. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, it hurts. But physical is the only thing that matters. When the great default happens, paper goes to zero. Physical goes to the moon. Action 3. Buy small denominations. 1-ounce coins. 10-ounce bars. Things you can actually use and trade. Action 4. Store privately, not in a bank, in your possession, hidden, secure. Action 5. Prepare for 200 plus. This isn't the top. The deficit is structural. The squeeze is just beginning. Hold through $100. Hold through $150 because the real move is still ahead. The silver supply deficit is here. It's irreversible and it's about to change everything. Are you ready? Comment stacked if you're holding physical silver. Comment buying if you're building your position now. Comment scared if you're still in paper and don't know what to do. Subscribe because tomorrow's news will be even bigger. The squeeze is here and there's no way out.